Waters.
Here.
Moore.
Here.
O'Kane.
Here.
Shaner. Scott.
Here. We stand for a moment of silent prayer followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Is Morgan Haskell here?
Thank you.
We have a proclamation that reads, whereas mental health is essential to everyone's overall physical health and emotional well-being, and surroundings can impact if, how, and when a person's needs are met, which in turn affects mental health. Mental illness will strike 1 in 5 adults, and about 2 in 10 children live with serious mental or emotional disorder, regardless of race, ethnicity, religion, or economic status. Whereas people who have mental illness can recover and lead full productive lives, and with the help of the Mental Health Roundtable, which consists of various agencies working together to destigmatize mental health in the Siouxland area. Whereas stigma continues to be the single most significant barrier to people getting help they need. Whereas access to early diagnosis, crisis intervention, appropriate treatment, and support, including integrated treatment, is critical to the well-being of our families, communities, schools, and businesses, and greater public awareness about mental illness can change negative attitudes and behaviors toward people with mental illness. Now, therefore, I, Robert E. Scott, Mayor of the City of Sioux City, Iowa, on behalf of the City Council, do hereby proclaim May 2024 as Mental Health Awareness Month in Sioux City and urge the citizens of Sioux City to recommit our community to increasing awareness and understanding of mental illness and the need for appropriate, accessible services for all people with mental illness. I'd like to present this to you and say a few words, if you would.
We just want to say thank you as part of the Mental Health Roundtable and all the organizations involved in it, and that, you know, anybody can seek help at any one of our locations. We have Siouxland Mental Health, Heartland Counseling, Catholic Charities here. And then also May 9th is Wear Green for mental health awareness. So if everybody would want to wear green, and we can paint Siouxland green.
There you go.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, Morgan.
Ricky Obink. Come on up, Ricky. Your grandpa Mel? Is your grandpa Mel Obink? Who's your grandpa? Is he Mel Obink? No? Must not be. Okay. Whereas Youth of the Year is the highest honor a Boys and Girls Club member can receive. Club members who are nominated embody the values of leadership, service, academic excellence, and healthy lifestyles. Teams from clubs throughout the United States compete at a local level and can then move forward to compete against others at the state, regional, and national level. And whereas last year the local Youth of the Year winner, Anika Baker, and whereas this year's Boys and Girls Clubs of Siouxland had 2 nominees, Ricky Obink and Jaden Cruz. Jaden here too? Come on up here. They didn't have your name on here. I apologize. Okay. Now, therefore, I, Robert E. Scott, Mayor of the City of Sioux City, Iowa, on behalf of the City Council, deem it an honor to commend and congratulate Ricky Obink and Jaden Cruz, and we'll get you one before this is over, okay? And the 2024 nominees for their accomplishments. So we'd like to present this to you, and we'll get you one that has your name on it. Bob, will you make sure we take care of that and get it for this young man? And thank you, and you're going on for to try to win nationally, or did you win nationally? Okay, well, good luck. Represent us well, okay? All right, thank you for coming. Historic preservation, Amy McFarland, Mark Munger, whoever else is coming up. Come on up, guys.
Come on, everyone.
On behalf of the City Council, I'm pleased to join the Historic Preservation Commission in promoting May 6th through 11th, 24 as Historic Preservation Week in Sioux City, Iowa. Whereas historic preservation is an effective tool for managing growth, revitalizing neighborhoods, fostering local pride, and maintaining community character while enhancing livability. And whereas historic preservation is relevant for all Americans of all ages, all walks of life, and all ethnic backgrounds. And whereas it's important to celebrate the role of history in our lives and the contributions made by dedicated individuals in helping preserve the tangible aspects of the heritage that has shaped us as a people and a community. Now, therefore, I, Robert E. Scott, Mayor of the City of Sioux City, on behalf of City Council, do hereby proclaim May 6th through the 11th as Historic Preservation Week in Sioux City, and urge all our citizens to learn more about Sioux City and its rich historic past. Present this to you, and I know you guys want to talk about the great week you got planned.
Yeah, all right, well, we'll be quick. So since it's this week, we can start by saying, well, today was the kickoff, so thank you for coming, everyone.
No doubt.
Great turnout. Tomorrow, Tuesday, Tom Munson, well, this year we're celebrating the Badgero Building and the elegance lines of Art Deco. So tomorrow night, Tom will be doing a walking tour of the Heights area. You can meet at the Rose Garden. And Tom is going to talk about various homes, who the architects were, and just really neat things to notice about them. Wednesday, and that's at 6 o'clock, I think I said that. Wednesday, we will be having our trivia contest at BA's. Tom, can you give me one trivia question, please, real quick? And don't give the answer.
Don't give the answer. Okay. Will locate E. Westerland was the architect of the Badgero Building, but who helped him design the terracotta?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
Dun, dun, dun.
We'll tell it at the end. Yeah. So then Friday is fun. If you have wanted to get into the Badgero Building, at the top of the Badgero at 4 o'clock, we'll be honoring the people that bought the Badgero Building and giving them the Treasure of Sioux City Award, which is always fun. And there'll be appetizers, and the bar will be open. It'll just be a really special time to take in the Badgero and the things that we're so proud of in Sioux City that we have here, that we get to celebrate every week or every year. So, and then Saturday and Sunday, the Railroad Museum will have free admission for everyone, and we have a bike tour, the historic bike tour. And is it Chautauqua Park?
Starts at 10 o'clock at Chautauqua Park.
Bicycle historical ride, takes about an hour and a half. So that's everything. All right, Tom, you want to finish with the answer?
Oh, sure. K.E. Westerland's brother, Carl Westerland, a Chicago-based architect, helped him finish off the designs of the terracotta on the Badgero Building.
Okay, all right.
Cool.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you for the great job you guys do. We appreciate it. We'll go to the consent agenda, which is items 2 through 18, I or L, I guess L. You can consider these items to pass unanimously unless a separate roll call vote is asked for by a council member. If you want to speak on any of these items, please come up as I read that number. Be sure and state your name and address for the record. If you want to speak on an item not on the agenda, please come up under citizen concerns. It won't matter because people are trying to watch us on Sparklight are going to find it's not on today, but it is on YouTube if you want to follow along on YouTube. I move the consent agenda.
Second.
2 is the reading of the April 18, 22nd, and 24th City Council minutes. 3 is a resolution adopting cemetery rules and regulations and rescinding the resolution number 2012 and 0137. 4 is a resolution fixing cemetery fees and rescinding resolution 2007-0440. Is that the last time we raised these rates? I should have asked that question. I'm guessing it is. That's why it's dated 2007. Because it really, you're going to be 58% increases when you're done with this.
Kelly Bach, Park Superintendent, Mayor, Council. That fee schedule was this 5-year schedule. The last scheduled fee, I believe, was enacted in early 2013. So we have not had a fee increase for a little over 10 years now.
I get that, but I wish we would be more vigilant about that. We've said that. When you get done, and you get done compounding it, it's a 58% increase.
Correct.
When somebody dies, it's difficult for me to stack on, but I don't know what else to do. But I wish we would not take 10 years to look at rates.
So you're saying, Mayor, that it would just not have a gap. It would be smaller increments, but continually increase over the years rather than,
Yeah, and then when you compound a 7% and a 9% rate, it's not 9% the next year, it's more like 10 point, almost 11%. That's my point.
It's not your issue, but I think we talk about this, it seems like year after year after year. If we could just have an overall study of what the fees are, when they were last raised, and not have to wait. But it seems like this comes up every time. In fact, I'm not going to support this. I'd like to pull the item for a separate vote. It's just too many fees being added on. It's just the timing's not good, and I don't think taxpayers should have to try to catch up because we haven't done anything.
well, and to be clear too, this is over a number of years, right? This
Correct.
increase?
This is over a 5-year period.
5 years.
When we looked at different things, we looked at both private and for-profit with other cities that are comparable. It is very difficult because a lot of places are different and they don't have a consistent, we're going to charge this much for an interment, we're going to charge this much for a lot. Coralville is an example of that. You buy the plot, you have to hire your own person to do the interments and things like that. So comparables are fairly hard to find, but in the comparables, we are still, after 5 years, we're going to be lower than some of those rates that are current on the other cemeteries, whether they're by a faith organization run, private, or municipal owned. So yes, I understand we have been behind in getting these. It's easier to do smaller increases over numerous years. You know, we've come through COVID. That would not have been a good time to be coming forward with this. So yes, it has been delayed. Yes, it is an increase, but it will allow us to have a higher recovery rate with our expenditures and lessen what we ask the taxpayers to pay rather than the users having to bear the cost at that time. There was also a question on our veteran section. In, let's see, 2003, the first veteran was interred in the 200 spaces that were donated by the council, resolution 997984. We have 47 of those spaces currently occupied. So we average lately about 4 veterans in those veteran sections. So hopefully that answers that question that was posed earlier this afternoon.
Great.
I'd still like to see a study, Mr. Padmore, of all the fees that haven't been raised, so we're not getting hit with this all the time. We talk about it, we just haven't made any progress, difference. And I'd like to have it make a difference.
Matt Salvatore, Parks and Recreation Director. I'd also like to point out the Park Board has reviewed this. The council also always like to get their opinion, and they unanimously approved the increase of these fees.
I get that, but, you know, I sometimes wonder if the role of government isn't to subsidize some things. And if you can't subsidize somebody at death, what can we subsidize?
Regardless of the fee increase, the cemeteries will continue to be.
Well, I'm
Heavily
not so sure
subsidized.
I'm not sure.
We're not going to solve that problem, but
Yeah, I'm not
whatever you guys want to do, we are
terribly
fine with.
wrong. I think that's part of government.
If it's not approved, do we just keep the fees the same, or do we would just like direction on what you would like those fees to be if this.
I'll move to amend that the fees increase 10% this year and not, and
Beyond
then
that.
you've got to do a study and bring it back to us for additional increases in the future.
Well, I guess where I'm coming from is what's challenging is it sounds like you did do your due diligence as far as what the other comparables would be, and at the end even of the total increase, we would still be under what a number of other municipalities and cities would be.
Correct.
And I guess to the mayor's point, you know, if you can't subsidize anything, subsidize in death. And I guess my thought is, I thought the council did a lot of due diligence and really was pushing themselves during this last budget cycle, and I think has remained vigilant in years past of holding that budget pretty tight and not increasing a number of different things. And I think at the end of the day, we have to recognize that all costs just like they're going up for every single person sitting in this audience. All costs are going up for our personnel, our maintenance, our budgets and things that we have to pay to provide. And so as long as we're providing a good quality service that's still comparable or even less than, you know, our neighbors, I think that we have to start covering costs on our end, because reducing staff and reducing services is not a way to grow a community or really improve your community. So I appreciate the work that staff did and went into this and looking into this. I trust their judgment as well as the advisory committee, and I appreciate that.
And I'm proposing a higher increase this year than what they're asking for by 3%. We're just asking for more data than what we have. I don't know that, but if it doesn't get a second, then we'll vote on what we got.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks, guys.
I do appreciate the work as well, but I just have a difference of opinion. It's just too much, too fast. 58% compounded, it's just not. I mean, I think we just need to look at those overall, because next week we might have somebody else come in and say our fees haven't been increased for 10 years. And then the following week, another group would come in. So I just don't feel like we have a good handle on it. But you did a good job for the Parks and Rec standpoint. There's no question about that.
So the data that you're requesting, Mr. Moore, is on other fees, not?
All of our fees, because we talk about this, but we're not making any, I don't see, we're not making any progress about it.
I think we did it on the trash. We spread it out over 10 years and did a small.
I'm talking about all the fees, Julie.
Right,
Just
I
all
know.
the fees that we're charging, because I can't tell you what they are, because I don't know. And I don't think I'm asking staff too much to do that, about all the fees, so. But that's just my opinion on this particular
Okay,
item.
4 is pulled. Call the roll, please.
What is it? For what?
Dan asked for 4 to be pulled.
Want
Oh.
for a separate vote?
Yeah.
Because the amendment failed, is that what you're saying, for lack of a second, or? Okay.
Moore,
No?
O'Kane,
Aye.
Shaner,
I just want to be clear.
So this is for sticking with what's proposed by staff.
Oh, aye.
Scott,
No.
Waters.
Aye.
5 is resolution fixing fees for services provided by Parks and Recreation Department and rescinding resolution number 2023-1013. 6 is a resolution further amending resolution number 2021-0739 to update the allocation of coronavirus state and local fiscal recovery funds. 7's and most.
Mayor, I do have a question on that one, Teresa. Just give me a minute to get my thought here.
Teresa Fitch, Finance Director.
I mean, tell me again what was changed on this?
Sure.
And where the shift was made from what to what?
Yep.
'Cause
In-
it's not, I didn't mark it clearly.
In the first category, the investments in water and sewer and broadband, the Isabella Square initially was $700,000. We moved money out of the unidentified utility improvements, that's for the housing, $250,000 from there to the Isabella Square. Down below, the asset renewal, number 2, was $9,088,687. All of that was moved to emergency repairs for the wastewater treatment plant. If you recall, and Tom may be able to speak a little bit more on this, the bids came in significantly high for asset renewal, so we went and shifted that to the emergency repairs. And then the last item, the Pierce Street water main replacement came in under budget. I believe that's finalizing here soon. You had a memo last week from Gordon to move $100,000 from it to the Broken Kettle Road for a sanitary sewer expense.
That doesn't necessarily mean we're going to share that savings with the homeowners as they hook on. That will be decided later, correct?
Gordon can speak more to that. I'm not confident. I initially thought we would, but
Well, I don't,
Gordon Fair, city engineer, yes, you're correct. I haven't put that forward to you for consideration yet. It'll be probably in about 2 weeks from today.
Teresa? Teresa, I thought I read something about something was taken from the Highland Park replat. was being done. Maybe it's not this item.
Well, the unidentified utility improvements, we haven't brought, I don't know if that's where you were thinking that the Highland Park would be coming out of. We have not brought that forward with an agreement yet.
So that fund hasn't been reduced then?
That was reduced by $250,000. That was moved into Isabella Square. Because we don't have an identified project there that's been brought to council for an agreement. Any other projects in that category?
That doesn't affect the plating that they're doing?
No.
This would be going forward if we want to.
Yep, that's separate.
If we
Yeah.
want to put some
Roads or infrastructure.
affordable housing in.
Yes, yep,
Because
that's
it
all
would be
for
so much-
affordable housing.
Because there'll be so much land available for affordable housing. So it's
Yep.
not touching that then?
No, it's not for the plotting. No, that's completely separate.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you.
7's a motion acknowledging the April 9th Board of Adjustment actions. 8 are actions relating to grants. A is a resolution authorizing STBG and carbon reduction program funding agreements with Simcoe Metropolitan Planning Organization. Always thought Simcoe was the, you should just be able to say Simcoe rather than, but. B is a resolution accepting a grant for family self-sufficiency program funding for 2 program coordinator positions. C is a resolution accepting.
Mayor, could I
Yeah.
ask Amy, could I ask a question on this item, on 9B? Okay, well, hello there.
Amy Tooley, Housing Services Manager.
Thank you. Hey, this is just continuing the
Correct.
2.
This is year 2 of a 2-year grant.
Yes, okay, so it's just a continuation of that. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Wanted to clarify it.
C is a resolution accepting a certified local government grant from the State Historic Preservation Office to fund archaeological investigations. 9 are actions relating to street closures. A is a resolution temporarily closing various streets in the Morningside area for the Morningside Day Carnival Parade and staging. B is a resolution temporarily closing a portion of Jackson Street for the La Familia Summer Jam outdoor event. C is a resolution temporarily closing various streets in the downtown area for the Pride Parade. 10 are actions adopting construction documents. A is a resolution adopting plans and specs for the Discovery Parking Ramp Repair Project. B is a resolution adopting plans and specs for the South Westcott Street Water Main Replacement Project. 11 are actions relating to agreements and contract. A is a resolution approving a contract to Subservco for the Isabella Square Improvement Project. I need to abstain on that item. B is a resolution authorizing a funding agreement with the Wisconsin Partnership for Housing and Development and the East High Lofts and the rental deed restriction agreement with East High Lofts for the rehabilitation of 1520 Morningside Avenue.
Mayor, I didn't have any questions about this project, but I did want to highlight it. I think that this is a really exceptional project. I'm really excited about not only the rehabilitation of some housing units here in our community, but also the direction to be able to utilize these for our homelessness efforts of really focusing on housing those individuals. I think that that's something that obviously our community has been talking about a great deal, trying to not only recognize the Mental Illness Awareness Month that we just recognized in a proclamation, but also thinking through what we can do to combat homelessness and give them opportunities to find adequate housing and something a little more stable. And so I'm really excited about this project and the developer's willingness to partner on this project on a number of those units.
And add to that, the support services that will be provided along with those apartments will be continued care through Heartland Social Service or Heartland Counseling, so that it helps these homeless folks become very successful in being able to stay, in their housing.
Just sets them up for success.
Yep, absolutely.
I agree with Mr. Waters' comments as well, and it's of 41 units, 5 one-bedroom units set aside for the homelessness or the homeless population, and that's a big deal. So
There'll be another.
congratulations on that.
C1 is a resolution approving a consulting services agreement with DGR Engineering for Lions Park Investment area sidewalk and overlay project. C2 is a resolution approving a consulting services agreement with DGR Engineering for the Les Hills Scenic Trail project. D1 is a resolution granting a permit to Fibercom to maintain underground cable in the area of 4325 South York Street. D2 is a resolution granting a permit to Fibercom to maintain underground cable in the area of 1401 Bluff Road. 12 are actions relating to personnel. A is a resolution amending the statement of authorized personnel complement by deleting one full-time clerical assistant position and adding one secretary position in the Park and Rec Department. B is a resolution amending the statement of authorized personnel complement by deleting 4 auto mechanic 1 positions, adding 1 auto shop supervisor position, and adding 1 auto mechanic 2 in the Public Works Department. 13 are actions authorizing payments. A is a resolution authorizing payment to Dixon Construction for the Dace Avenue Bridge Reconstruction Project. B is a resolution approving payment to Titan Machinery for an emergency repair of a case loader. C is a resolution approving a partial settlement of a tort claim and authorizing payment. D1 is a resolution authorizing payment to Sioux City Engineering for the Bluff Road Bridge Project. D2 is a resolution authorizing payment to Sioux City Engineering for the Pierce Street Water Main Replacement Project. 14 are actions relating to property. A is a resolution proposing to sell the vacated Eden Avenue adjacent to 911 Cornelia Street and 905 Glass Street, the petitioners Raymer and Raymer Properties. B is a resolution proposing to sell a vacated strip of land adjacent to 110 Ruston Street, petitioner Smith Property. C is a resolution proposing to sell a vacated strip of land adjacent to 102 South Ruston Street, the petitioners Brooke Galazzo and Adolph Galazzo Pena. D is a resolution accepting a residential purchase agreement from Ronald and Gia Emery for the Midtown Terrace project and authorizing payment. E is a resolution proposing to sell property commonly known as 2103, 2107, and 2111 Myrtle Street. The petitioner is Siouxland Habitat for Humanity. I need to abstain on that conflict of interest.
I just wanted to highlight, I'll let you catch your breath and take a drink, Mayor. I just wanted to point out this one, again, just as an effort to show the community, I think, that, you know, the city staff is really dedicated to any effort to really looking at affordable housing options in our community and looking at addressing those types of things. I think this is another great project on the agenda today where we're working with Habitat for Humanity on 3 separate lots to be able to build these homes that then are income eligible individuals and get them into a stable environment. So I really appreciate Habitat being a great partner in our city and city staff working with them continually to look for good options.
I agree with you on that too, and they've been here for a long time, doing a lot of good work in the community. So I agree with you, Alex.
15 is purchasing. A is a resolution approving a renewal option 2 to the purchase order with Hawkins for sulfuric acid. B is a resolution approving renewal option 1 to the purchase order for Brentag Great Lakes for sodium bisulfite. C is a resolution approving renewal option 2 for the purchase order from Caris for sodium permanganate. D is a resolution awarding a purchase order to Siouxland Bobcat for a compact track loader. E is a resolution awarding a purchase order to Hallett Materials for road gravel. F is a resolution awarding a purchase order to Shire Pumping for asphalt millings, clean crushed concrete, crushed asphalt, and crushed concrete. G is a resolution awarding a purchase order to Andritz Separation for a D5L centrifuge. 16 are applications for cigarette, tobacco, nicotine vapor permits. 17 is an application for beer liquor license. 18 is boards, commissions, and committee meetings. Anyone to be heard on any of those items?
Mayor, I need to abstain on 16A 21 and 17A 1B.
Passes 5-0. 19's in. Hearing an ordinance vacating a portion of an abandoned Chicago, Milwaukee, and St. Paul Railroad right-of-way. The petitioner is James Earl Clark. P&Z recommends approval. I'll move that.
Second.
Public hearing's now open. Anyone to be heard? Seeing none, the hearing is closed. Passes 5-0. Is anybody opposed to waiving the statutory rule?
No.
Move that.
Second.
O'Kane.
Aye.
Shaner.
Aye.
Scott.
Aye.
Waters.
Aye.
Moore.
Aye.
I'll move second and third.
Second.
Shaner.
Aye.
Scott.
Aye.
Waters.
Aye.
Moore.
Aye.
O'Kane.
Aye.
20 is the hearing an ordinance amending Chapter 25.02 of the Municipal Code to clarify the limited and conditional standards and to add a 2-acre minimum lot size for auto sales and service repairs. P&Z recommends approval. I'll move that.
Mayor, I'll move it, just so we can start discussion at least. Or sorry, second. I didn't hear if you moved it. Second.
Public hearing's now open.
Wade, why don't, if staff wants to kind of
Yeah.
present some of their findings, that'd be great.
Andrew, does this include service repair businesses if you're just working on cars?
It'd be the bulk requirements, so yes, the parking lot and
It includes what?
it would include the bulk requirements, so the landscaping and the parking requirements.
So if I had a little repair shop, like a body shop, I gotta have 2 acres? Is that what you're saying?
No,
Okay.
that is, I think it's standard
Well, it's not very
L.
clear. Most motorcycle shops, I did a little research, have less than 3/4 of an acre, but I think they're included in this, right?
Yes,
Okay. So it's just if you're selling vehicles that are titled. So does that include a boat repair shop?
they are included in the automobile sales and rental section of the code.
Yes, please.
Okay. 5-0.
Yeah, we think it's a great, change to the zoning plan.
I mean, I know there's a feeling in this community we have too many auto sales shops, and I'm not sure I disagree with that. But you can limit how a place looks by the number of autos per square foot. Because if I understand this right, Dam Auto, I'll use them as an example. If their building burns down today, they can't rebuild there because they only have 1.23 acres.
So this would still, like, all the current sites would be all grandfathered in, and we can go in.
Not if you change the ordinance and they burn down, you've disrupted the business, right?
The use goes with the land, so.
That's not how a lot of other stuff, if you're grandfathered in, Nicole, if that burns, it's like a non-conforming lot. You can't rebuild. Is that the case here?
That's I'm looking through the proposed code right now, but that's generally it.
Exactly. So
Let's have staff go through the presentation and some of the findings, and then we can ask clarifying questions. And I know there are a number of citizens that may have.
I want to know some of this stuff before we go through, because when it says automobile sales, rental, and service, if a service is not part of it, then it should say auto sales and accessories to that. But anyway, I'm reading that in your headline that service garages are in the same category, but you're saying they're not, so.
The 2-acre limit would not apply to them.
But the other standard.
The other standard
is why it's included here.
Chris Matson, planner. Just to answer your question on non-conforming, correct. If a building were to burn down, that building, if it was non-conforming, would not be able to be rebuilt. However, the use of a car lot could continue. A new building would have to meet all the current standards. But the use
They'd have to have 2 acres.
The use would be able to continue. the structure itself that's rebuilt would have to meet all our current code.
You would, Chris, what you're saying is they would be exempt from the 2 acres as long as the use remained the
Because
same.
the use
I
could
want to make sure
continue.
it says that in the code, but go ahead.
We can elaborate that if that's council direction.
But you're saying the structure that they build may have to be different than what it was if they had some
Correct.
little
Location,
shack that was
design
too close
standard.
to the road or whatever.
Setbacks, all of that.
Right.
Yep.
So to start this off, we have this is, item 24, or 24-030, automobile sales and rental, and we can switch back to the PowerPoint, that'd be great.
Students from the back room, not up here, so bear with me just a moment.
So why are we proposing new standards? So this is kind of a combination of complaints and then the need to clarify the standards. We've run into issues with enforcement over the last number of years as far as being able to look at certain standards that are in other parts of the code, but they aren't in part of this section, which then reflects to what they can and cannot do. And then this is also, we got direction from the Planning and Zoning Commission. And so the goal on this is to ultimately allow for more effective enforcement. So when you got people parking on the grass, if you have people parking in the right of way, and just generally parking into the neighborhoods, into the other people's property, and we've seen a number of complaints, and they kind of run the gamut. So we went back and we gave a presentation to the Planning and Zoning Commission on December 12th of 2023. At that meeting, we looked at a number of different cities, what they are doing, and we kind of asked for general direction as far as where we wanted to go, what the Planning Commission wanted this new zoning proposal to look like. On March 12th of 2024, we brought it back. We had something kind of in a form that they could look at, make some comments on, and get a little bit more general direction. And then on April 9th, we brought back what you have before you today. We also noticed all the current active automobile sales service and establishments in the city of Sioux City, which is, as of March of 2024, was 67. During this process, we looked at the zoning ordinances for other cities, and this includes Cedar Rapids, Des Moines, Iowa City, West Des Moines, Lincoln, Omaha, Sioux Falls, and also South Sioux City. It should be noted that in South Sioux City, there is a current moratorium that's been in place since 2014. They've capped the number of auto sales within that municipality. It's a number of 6. They are down to like 8 or 9 right now. And that was in 2014. So for the last 10 years, they've whittled that number down. As I've said before, there's currently a 67 active automobile sales dealers licensed in Sioux City proper as of March 2024. The map to the right shows those locations. You see those clusters along Lewis Boulevard, West 7th Street, along Gordon Drive, the Southern Hills area, and in the Riverside neighborhood. Of those 67, 10 was what we would classify as franchise dealers. 9 would be truck and trailer sales dealers. 6 of those would be motorcycle utility and vehicle direct dealers. And then 2 of those are tow companies with incidental sales, so when they tow cars and then just never, there's a process to selling those. And then 40 of those are other car dealers. City staff has provided those 83 zoning letters in the last 10 years to the Iowa Department of Transportation. So part of this process is the city staff provides a letter to the Iowa Department of Transportation that states that any newly established or existing, depending on if there's like a change of ownership or whatever, that those car dealers or sales locations meet our current zoning requirements. And those are what is on that A through E. That's all that we have right now. There's no other standards that would include. So what we've seen here as of recently is that we are seeing more infiltration of trying to find sites that go into the neighborhoods. This is part of what this zoning and ordinance is, what we're looking at trying to stop. We've seen there was incident where the old Roach Animal Hospital on Pierce Street, there was one that tried to get a cup last fall, late summer. That was not approved by the Board of Adjustment. I don't know if that's not really a great spot for a car dealership, because you're moving, that zone is really more of a transitional zone from a commercial district to a residential district, and you've got houses basically all the way around it, except on the one side. Another incident was the former Wells Fargo bank that's out on South St. Albans. Somebody purchased that property to have auto sales there. That's essentially surrounded by residential neighborhoods. It's on a fringe of a commercial district, but that's what we're running into, is that we're seeing more and more of this as far as speculating on the car dealership locations. So what are we proposing to change as far as our standards? The parking lot design standards and setbacks. So this would now kick in if somebody was to come and get a zoning letter, that they would be required to meet the parking lot design standards and the setbacks. So depending on where that is roughly 8 feet from the right of way. That area would be reflected in the next one. We require perimeter landscaping. So that would, depending on the traffic count or the road classification within that district, would meet that parking lot landscaping requirement. So that kind of varies depending on the busyness of the street. And then clarifying vehicles that are not displayed in the right-of-way. This has been a problem. We've had code enforcement's been out constantly. It seems like trying to get people to back off the sidewalk. For instance, there have been 2 accidents within the last year for a place that's along Floyd, that the car have actually been struck multiple vehicles. And when you go and look at that, and it's included on the other one, but yeah, there's...
Wait a minute. One of those where the lady took out 5 or 6 cars, that wasn't because the cars were too close to the street. She just plain had some sort of a seizure and took a bunch of cars out. You can't, I mean, let's be fair about painting the picture here, because that's unfair to say that was because those cars were there. Those cars were plenty far off the street. When you have somebody that makes a mistake, nothing is safe. I mean, let's get all the details before we cite examples. You're going to show a picture here of a lot out on Gordon Drive that has half asphalt and half cuttings that you guys allowed. You allowed him to open that lot with that, but yet you use it as an example of something that shouldn't be. But go ahead. I don't.
But also, to be fair, with that location, city plows throw snow on top of those cars. They're so close to the street, you know. I'm just.
And it sounds to me also like Wade was saying that has been part of the problem with enforcement, is needing to clarify in this zone or in the zoning language so that you can properly enforce that. Because I've talked to a number of individuals in the audience, and I think they're upstanding members that want to have a good product and present that, but then you have others that maybe aren't, and it's tough to enforce that. So that's why there's an effort to clean up the language.
Yes, and that's the goal here. And so to kind of to go on to the next one, to clarify, vehicles are displayed on a hard surface. This is also a state rule, and that we're just putting it into our code. The state requires that a vehicle sales location be on a all-weather surface. We are saying that needs to be an impervious surface in that. Clarify vehicles must be stored on site. So we've run into a couple of occasions where there are service dealerships or other establishments that are storing their vehicles in the right-of-way. There's a couple of occasions where they've been parking them into the neighborhood, and we've been getting complaints about that. So that's what that standard is for.
Oh, I got you. So if you have like a service vehicle or something and you need to get it off of your lot because you're working on the next car, you move it down the street in front of a neighbor's or something, right?
And then the require conformance with the above to receive a zoning letter. So what we are looking at is for those standards that we have for A through, make sure I get this correct. A through J would need to be met to receive a zoning letter from the staff.
To be submitted to the state.
Yeah. And then the 2-acre minimum lot size for new automobile sales establishments. The rental and service establishments are not included in this. The minimum size, there is none today. We've run into, that's part of the reason with the kind of the gradual influx into the neighborhoods that we have run into. We believe that this 2-acre size minimum would kind of stop that. I know that's been a point of contention on this zoning amendment. So we can look at that and we can have a discussion about it today. And so currently, like I said, that they could go on a whole host of lots that currently meet, because the standards are very limited. The other thing is we're looking at is the land use table. So we're looking to make the automobile sales and rental and service would be a prohibited use in the MU and the Pearl Street District. The MU is basically a transitional zone between commercial and residential. And we've kind of determined that there's very limited spots where this is not appropriate, and because the MU is pretty sparse in the code. And then also in the Pearl Street District. And the reasoning behind that is that it wouldn't be conducive to the contributing buildings of in that zone. The other section is the automobile repair and service. We're looking at taking out this line, and in part because in the industrial land use table, which is different from the commercial use table, it basically states the exact same thing, and it would basically cover that section. So there wouldn't be that necessarily confusion between the two, because right now it's in there twice, essentially.
And if it's conflicting, then you have people that do both. They provide service and they do sales, and then they're saying, well, I repair here, but I also sell here. Which one do I fit? And trying to conform to one or the other.
So as stated, a conditional use permit would be required for any newly established lot or a lot that's expanding. And then, so here's what the proposal is. We've cleaned up some language in A through E, and then everything through F through L is all new in this as the proposed. So with that, any questions?
I drive around town and I see cars parked in like dead-end streets. I see cars parked on grass. I see cars parked in the parking. It's one thing to go out and say you shouldn't do that. Are we writing tickets? Are people getting fined? Because if not, why not? You can write all these ordinances, but until you actually enforce what you have, I mean, I'll give you a list today of where you should go ticket people. The condition that you had on that one on Gordon Drive was that they couldn't park on that. They could only use it to access. They're parking on that today. If you go out on Lewis Boulevard, you don't have to drive very far going down south to see cars in our right-of-way on neighbors' properties. You don't have to go very far going north on Highway 75 to see wrecked cars in a car lot, all of which I don't think is allowed today. Are we actually writing tickets?
I know I've been out with code enforcement in the past, and we do stop by a number of places where they're just parking on the lawn. For example, if you've recently read the news, the city of Omaha recently made it a simple misdemeanor to park on your yard. There's a $50 fine plus court cost with that too.
Do we write these car dealers a ticket? That's the question. Because you're not afraid to write somebody a ticket if he's got a motor home in the side yard. Are we writing tickets on these?
I believe code enforcement tries to work with these owners before they start writing the tickets. If it's council's direction, we can definitely start.
That's not our direction, that's your ordinance.
Well,
that's our ordinance.
No, I'm not disagreeing with
Right by
it.
Hamilton, right now, there'll be 7 or 8 cars on the grass.
And I'm not
One of the
disagreeing
dealers
with.
could be here, but is not allowed.
I'm saying that Wade clarified one of the main bullet points was clarification in the code so that enforcement can be better.
Do you believe that we can write a ticket today for cars on grass? By the way, she believes you can't rebuild the car lot either if it's more than 50% destroyed.
We have two, I'll address that
Right.
first. There's 2 different questions there that can be asked. The use can't be discontinued for more than 365 days. Now, if you have a non-conforming structure, that's different, and perhaps Chris can give more clarity on this. But generally, what the code says is if the structure is damaged more than 50%, then it'd have to be built to conform with the current zoning setbacks, et cetera.
Correct. The structure would have to be rebuilt to meet current code.
Which means you have to have 2 acres.
No, just.
Not if the use hasn't stopped for over 365 days.
So they would just have to rebuild a building, and the building would have to meet the codes, but it would stay in the same, and it would have the same zoning, so you could still operate as long as it was built within a year.
Okay.
To address the second question, I don't believe that I have knowledge that we've written tickets related to that, at least that have come to me through my office, but perhaps there have been some. They could have been non-contested.
That's one of my problems is we have a solution in search of a problem that we haven't done anything to try to solve some of the problems that we have out there today. Listen, I don't disagree. We have too many used car lots. I don't disagree that they're taking advantage of the system. I agree with all of that. But we've done very little to enforce any of these ordinances. And so now we have this unbelievable ordinance that overkilled, in my opinion, because to tell a motorcycle guy, you got to go out and spend $1 million just on land to be in the motorcycle business is a little bit, and to say to a used car dealer, you got to have $1 million in land, because figured out, by the time you get the improvements in and don't even build a building, you're going to have $1 million in the concrete that you're going to, and the setbacks, and that doesn't even include a building. What you're saying is you don't want, then just put a moratorium on car lots. It's pretty simple to me. You just put a moratorium like South Sioux did and call it good.
And I think staff is fine with other options and looking at that as well. In fact, that's what I was going to propose. I talked to Mayor, I talked to you before the meeting, and then I mentioned something else, but I'm more than happy to have a deferral of a week and go back. We can have another public works meeting to address some of those. We can listen to, I know there's some citizens that wanted to feel heard or talk about some of their concerns. So we can bring it back in a week to discuss a compromise. And if you think a moratorium would be more effective than a limit on the size in particular, that can be considered as well. I mean, I'm fine. I think city staff was just saying we're trying to have these conversations and understand how we could update and improve the code to reflect what we want for zoning, but then also limit the proliferation of more and more car lots, which is what we're seeing because of ordinances like what South Sioux put in.
But the other side, Alex, is you got ordinances today that you don't enforce. So a guy like me that says we tag a woman out in Riverside, if you remember, $600 because she didn't push her snow, but yet we don't tag these guys. I'm sorry, but I'm kind of an equal enforcement sort of guy. You should enforce your rules or get rid of your rules.
Our enforcement is based highly off of complaints, so that's typically where we go, is where the complaints are coming in.
Well, I'll
So
give you a list tomorrow, and
absolutely.
let's get the tickets written. I'll be glad to give you a whole bunch of them.
I'm sure they would also say the
Well,
staff
if you guys can't drive by those and see them, then I'm sorry, but you showed pictures of them in the presentation, because I saw it in our homework. So somebody's been out there and see these things that are happening. If you got time to take the picture, you had time to take and write a citation, but I'm sorry, I'm not trying to be critical. I get what you're trying to do, but you've overkilled this thing, in my opinion. If this guy's got room for what you would feel comfortable with, 10 cars, and he's got 15, limit how many cars he can have on the lot. I can accept that. But what you're saying when you say any new car lot's got to have 2 acres, you're saying you're never going to have another one in this community. I mean, the old Mercury store, which is now part of Woodhouse, only has 2.23 acres of ground. That's a big lot. That's what you're telling people is what you got to have, an ideal wheels lot to be in the used car business. Well, not everybody can obviously afford an ideal wheels lot to be in that business. And I don't know if you've looked at some of those different car lots to see the size. I mean, you're talking, I'm not sure that's good to have mega lots either all over town.
But I think that's what staff is asking is, do you want to do anything to stop the proliferation of these small used car lots, or do you not? I mean, that's ultimately the question then, Mayor, is you have to decide as a member of council if you're okay with all of these smaller lots turning into it or not.
It's not either or, Alex. Come on now. We can put standards in. We can put screenings in. We can do some of that sort of stuff. We can do that. It doesn't have to be either or.
We did look at a number of different options. We did look at a square footage per vehicle or display vehicle. We looked at corridors if we wanted to essentially go how we do with billboards, identify corridors. That's somehow where we came up with the 2 acres, is looked at some of those and what is generally a block. So that's where we came up with the 2 acres. We looked at obviously making it all a conditional use permit. So we did look at a couple different, and even if that 2 acre number is too large, if we want to reduce that, we're more than happy to look at that.
Because the worry that I have is the square footage. I mean, I don't know what your conversation as a commission was for the square footage, but the worry that I have is that you still have the incessant problem that they could go to every single business, no matter if the neighborhood fits, I mean, for example, that Wells Fargo that's right there, you're basically surrounded by homes, or for most of the sides. And then, well, you don't need 2 acres or you don't need a full acre. So then you can just open it up. And as long as you're not overrun with the number of cars, hey, why not? And you're still going to get all of those businesses proliferating.
Use on every one of them, can't you?
That's what we're proposing.
Right. So that's,
Then you would need the 2 acre limit?
I mean,
We did look at or do the analysis of the sites out there. About 35% of the 67 car lots do meet that 2 acre minimum. We also looked at 1 acre, and it was about 50-50 that did meet or did not meet a 1 acre minimum as well.
there's very few that meet the 1 acre. I looked up every corridor. Most of them are about 2/3 of an acre, according to the assessor's website. So I mean, 2/3 of an acre is bigger than you think it is. And there's not an acre. You either go from like 6/10 of an acre to Woodhouse is 3.3 plus 2.33. Ideal Wheels is 2.33. Billion GMC is 8.12. Toyota's 5.17. Ford's 10.26. Billion Nissan, the 2 lots are 6.51. Vern ID, the 2 lots are 7.18. But the rest of these are, the Harley shop is 9/500ths of an acre. And Bach is only 0.61. And those little lots on Lewis Boulevard, they're like maybe 1 acre on one of them. The rest of them are not that big. But anyway, I don't care. I just think it's really we just went, well, first of all, I got a real problem. You can say this was open to the public, but I can tell you most of the people in this room didn't know exactly what was being discussed. That is always going to be a problem for me. And And the other thing is that some of this stuff should have been vetted, like motorcycles, and should have been taken out. I mean, that's a given, that should be taken out before you even got to this point. I mean, do you really believe a 2-acre motorcycle? I can't think of any place I've ever been that has a 2-acre motorcycle place. Harley Davidson place in Des Moines is pretty good size, and I guarantee you, I'll do a research if you want me to, but it's not 2 acres, I can tell you that.
The Yamaha dealer, they are 2 acres or a little over 2.
Yamaha's 2 acres, but it's grass behind that's not part of the dealership. Get Google Map up and we'll take a look. So I don't think it is. I think he's got some ground behind there that makes it be.
And that's fine.
Mayor,
Making suggestions and comments.
I'd like to hear from those that are here to address some of their concerns.
Agreed.
Anyone want to be heard? Come on up.
Hi, my name is Ben Kneffler, 3829 Jones Street. Mr. Mayor, Council, thanks for having me. We represent an 8-acre and a 0.6 acre, so we're kind of on both sides of this deal. I am, as a business, we are against the idea that we become conditional use. That's scary to us. We understand that there's some grandfather stuff, but we've had some council look at it, and we're not comfortable with that. We prefer to stay the use that we are. We are asking that that some of this be looked at. Not unlike you guys, I'm all about cleaning up the city. Not unlike what's been said, we're very interested in having, standards and believe strongly in that. We want to be a good partner when we're doing that with all the building and community and the stuff that's around us. But we like downtown. We like where we're at. We're up along the train tracks. We've been there a long time. We represent last year a little bit over $75 million in net sales that is coming into downtown. That is retail. We are essentially a retail establishment. Half of those people are coming from outside of Sioux City to come in and see us. So we think that that's a positive thing. And to date, we're about 95 jobs in that one location there. So we're asking to we don't want that messed with. We just want to keep continuing. We promise we'll be good partners in that. On the flip side of it, some of the land requirements, that kind of thing. Speaking now not just for Kneffler Chevrolet, but just for the industry, yeah, that's tough. When my family came 102 years ago, when they came from South Dakota, if those requirements were in place, we would have kept going. We wouldn't have stopped here. And so that's neither here nor there, I guess, but because we did. But some of those are tough. So we're not saying do away with accountability in this town. We're not saying do away with accountability on property and stuff like that. In fact, we support that 100%. But it seems like we got a problem with the thumb, and we're cutting off the arm here. So what we're asking for is not unlike what the mayor spoke about. We're asking for continued research into enforcement. And I want to say Wade over there was awesome. I mean, came out and everybody from planning and zoning, everybody I spoke to, I mean, really fantastic. So, I know a lot of work went into this, and I know everybody's heart's in the right place. And this guy was just amazing, So thank you so much for that. This thing we feel like it's missing the mark, and there's going to be some unintended things that come out of this. And for me personally, for us personally, this rezoning deal, even though it's conditional, even though we say we're going to be grandfathered, all these other things, we are not comfortable with that at all. So.
Ben, if I can, while you're here, just wanted to say thank you for your comments and also for kudos to the staff, because I agree. I think they've spent a lot of time from staff and planning and zoning, revisiting this a few times, and so I appreciate their time as well. But one question I wanted to ask you, and I'm not going to say I'm going to ask every single person that comes up, but I'd be curious. You've been in the business, obviously, a long, long time. You reference your family that they wouldn't have stayed here maybe to open had this been the case or something like that. I do think times have changed exponentially as far as, having 67 different used car lots, or they're not all just used. There's about 40 just purely used car lots. Is there something that, and surely you understand that we don't want that to continue into neighborhoods. We don't want that to continue just taking over all of these different commercial spaces and stifling out any other business or industry. What do you think of everything that's been discussed here? You're in the industry, I'm not, man. So is it an acre thing? Is it a moratorium thing? Is it a square foot? And I'm not going to hold you to it, man. I'm just asking for your idea. I trust your opinion.
No, I appreciate that. In the first, so to the first part of your question, I think because of Sioux City's growth, which again is a testament to the city, we're in a situation to where we were surrounded by box train tracks and warehouses. So that was 1971. There's nothing but nobody was trying to do anything. Now there's market rate housing erected all around us. A guy from Sioux Falls calls me. We're working on stuff. We're putting on fences. Had somebody that lived close by. They said one of our lights was shining in their deal. So we got electricians coming out so we can turn our light, make sure our lights staying within our boundaries. It didn't used to be like that. It was the train tracks. And so as the city continues to grow, and as some of these things are going to come up. So in some of those cases, that's just what's happening.
Yeah.
I think there's too many car lots? I would be struck by lightning if I stood up here and said, yeah, I think we need to, you know what I mean? So, that's for you guys to decide what you guys want. But I'll tell you that, is the issue car lots or is the issue junk? Is the issue automobile dealerships? Because there was a bank in that place, in wherever that car lot was trying to go into. It wasn't housing, although housing was around it. It wasn't housing. At 9 o'clock in the morning, they turned the lights on, cars drove in, they went through the thing, people did their banking and they left, So if the issue is garbage and unsightliness and whatever, hey, great, let's deal with that. But if you're saying as an industry we're unsightly or whatever, so we're going to change the zoning and we're going to do this or that, to me, that's kind of baby out with the bathwater. So I'm not answering your question very well, but
I'll have to call you later.
But I'm all about standards, these kind of things. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Nope. Do I think that the business that I engage in every day to feed my family is an inherently
unsightly
business for your neighborhood?
I get it. And that's what I'm saying.
Not where I'm at. Not at my place. I'm working really, really hard to make sure it's a stand-up place. You'd be proud to bring your people in and say, hey man, buy a car from this guy. So.
Hello.
Hey, Joe.
Keffler, 355 West 45th Street. I'll make this brief. He had covered most of what I said. But to his point exactly, I think we have to take a look at if this is a car dealership issue or if this is a siding issue. We've done all we could to be better neighbors where we're at. We did a $2 million investment when nothing else around us had started to move over at that point. We decided to reinvest in downtown so we could be with you all. And so I think it has more to do with what's out there than the car dealership itself. And then the other last point is that this really does screw with buy-sell agreements. And so if we're unable to say to the next owner, hey, you're going to buy this and you're going to buy a car lot, you're going to take over the franchise, so on and so forth, under new ownership, they wouldn't necessarily be deemed under that. So there goes all the blue sky that we have as far as profitability when we're trying to resell something. You got the business, you got the location, you have the licenses, and the business is really the blue sky. If you take that out of the equation, there's no longer a business there, it's just a piece of property and a bunch of equipment. So that would vastly change that.
I'm going to ask you a follow-up question, if you don't mind, Joe. And not the same follow-up question, but you bring up that point, and that is also something that I've talked to others about, and I was considering and thinking through. And not that we have to necessarily think about your own best business interests of whether you'll profit on the sale, but the question I have is, if we don't do something, because you have a lot of these car dealerships that are coming into things that were never car dealerships, they were gas stations, they were what have you, and then it looks unsightly because they didn't necessarily improve it, and then they want to sell. It's not necessarily has to go back to a car lot. It could have been a gas station again, or whatever that business was again. Do we consider that or think about, because your site is very different. I understand it's a great spot for that, or it was built for that where maybe you would have that, but some of the size or smaller ones, I think that argument holds less water. Do you agree or disagree?
Could, but I mean, historically, our site was an awful site. We were next to a dog food plant, and they crushed cars across the street. So you'd have to duck when you'd hear the car blow up from the gasoline tank forgetting to get removed.
Correct.
And then it smelled like horse.
But I mean, building what you've done now.
So I mean,
and what's around it.
as
I
far
get
as
your
like
point.
evolution's concerned, it's constantly evolving for sure. And we're happy to have the neighbors we do now compared to what we did 20 years ago. Absolutely. I mean, you kind of look at a liquor license at that point too. So if you're selling a bar, are you selling the liquor license along with it, or do you obtain that liquor license? Do you have to give that liquor license back, so on and so forth? Because same argument made about, you know, geez, there's too many bars going up in neighborhoods and so on and so forth, but that individual holds on to that liquor license throughout the entirety of it. It doesn't go with the property. It's purchased by that individual. And so in this case, it's very different when it follows an actual property line versus the individual's ownership of something.
May I ask a question, Mayor, of either Ben or Joe? And this is just for clarification for my purpose. Are you, with all the amendments that we have before us, is it the 2-acre minimum that's the one that's causing the issue, or would it be the others? But I know you run a business that you don't have any problem with the state of Iowa, and you comply with all of those. And it seems like, and Wade, you correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems like some of these are duplication of what the state would require. So are there other items other than the minimum 2 acres? Because I have a problem with the minimum 2 acres myself, to the mayor's point. So go ahead.
The minimum of 2 acres seems like, that just to me is like, wow, that's a lot of space. And in the future of automotive sales, as we go to, you know, these different models, one of the things on there was repairing vehicles outside. And like I said, we did a great job. He did a great job explaining to me that this wasn't going to be an issue. But we wired our entire parking lot for Wi-Fi, because technicians now, if they have to reflash a car, it's not a wrench and a deal. And for them to bring it inside to work on it doesn't make sense. They sit out in the parking lot, they get it going. Now, he explained that that's not an issue. You know, I was kind of going off on a tangent there. But what happens if maybe, 10 years from now or 20 years from now, we're doing cars, but just by ordering? Well, we might do it. We might be able to do it out of the mall at that point, So we don't know where these things are going. So, but anyway, that's not what you asked. Yes, 2 acres is a lot of space. And I'm concerned about the conditional use. I just am. It just worries me, worries our council.
And you made that abundantly clear, at least to me. I agree with you on that conditional use. You don't want to have a business that you have with all of it's complex. And you have to be able to have that flexibility. So, and I agree, you did great work on this. It's really thorough.
Oh, yeah.
But that's what we're here to discuss. So thank you for clarifying that for me.
I have one question while they're there. They used to sell their excess used cars on Gordon Drive on a small lot, wouldn't meet 2 acres. They've converted that to a rental business. So if they decide they want to have car sales there, they've got to do that within a year of when they left and made it a car rental place. Is that correct?
It would be transferring from sales to rental. I think that's where you run into, because it's been a rental facility, I think, now for.
Yeah, so that's I don't want to get too far in the weeds, but yes, we would have to go back and get that.
You don't have a dealer, you don't have a
Yeah.
secondary dealer's
exactly.
license.
Yeah, and we wouldn't meet the new requirement and.
Exactly,
and everything
okay.
else. Yeah, and also, in this, not to get into this, but just so, certainly council's aware that there's a whole big project going up on Gordon Drive. A lot of those car lots are going to be displaced. That displacement will mean that we're going to look out for new stuff, and in that, and they're coming from smaller lots that aren't going to meet the new requirements. So.
All right, thank you. Anybody else you heard, please come forward.
Hi, Reed Burson, 106 Grandy Drive. I had a big speech planned. These guys said exactly what I was going to say. I don't want to keep you guys moving, but a little story. Craig Carroll, you guys know him, Ideal Wheels. He started a little car lot over off of Highway 75, turned it into a massive deal, and then it is 2 acres. It is a used car lot, but we wouldn't be here today if these conditions were in effect. So I think they'll affect our business sales, our property values. So that's about all I need to say. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Reed.
Anybody else? House of Free Enterprise is here to speak.
That's right. Barbara Slonaker, 1336 Buchanan. Just wanted to say, we've been contacted by several of our chamber members who some of them happen to be in the room today, about this new ordinance, and they're asking really for our support and intervention for a productive dialogue. I think that's the biggest thing that we always talk about. Did we talk with the businesses about, and I think the council has showed that here tonight, saying what parts of it could you work with. So I'm happy to see that maybe that could be something we do moving forward, is maybe adjust, because I think these people are all trying to do a good business. They're proud to be in Sioux City, and they have choices. So I'd like to keep them here if possible. Thank you.
Anyone else be heard?
Good evening, Kim Johnson with Vernite. The
Address, please.
Address, I live in Dakota Dunes, South Dakota.
That's fine. We just need it for the record.
628 Prairie Boulevard, Dakota Dunes, South Dakota.
Thank you.
You're welcome. As the previous people have spoken, I agree that there's been a lot of work that's put into this, and we do appreciate it. And as was just spoken about, we too as a business would have appreciated being contacted in order that we could give input prior to this coming to the Zoning and Commission. There are a few other points on here besides the 2-acre minimum that haven't been discussed. One of the items that we particularly looked at was the lining of the parking lot. When COVID hit, everyone's inventory depleted, and we all parked our vehicles in order to maximize space. So that was a point that we were wondering about. Another issue was that every wrecked car needed to be enclosed so that it wasn't an eyesore. I personally am wondering about clarification of what a wrecked vehicle is. We have vehicles that come in for service that maybe a person is driving around without a bumper on their vehicle. Does that become a wrecked vehicle that we have to keep inside, that we have to put inside of an enclosed area? Some of these items just are high-ticket items, and we too are very proud to be in Sioux City, take pride in our dealership and in the space that we occupy, and try to keep it as clean and as pleasant looking as possible. So these are just a couple of items that we would like clarity on, and as this is proposed, we would like to see maybe some of these items discussed separately instead of all-encompassing.
Question for you.
Yes.
Could you please, on the first point you said about the parking lines, could you walk me through that again?
There was an item on one of the bullet points that spoke about the parking lots being lined so that vehicles were not parked just haphazardly along the parking lots.
Okay. Where is that?
So that would kind of be included in item F. So that'd be the parking lot design standards, so 160 square feet per car, and then being able to maintain those driveways or drive lines within the parking lot. The thought behind this is to look at not only the organization of the lot, but also we've had issues where people are packing these lots so full that you're basically playing a game of Tetris to get them out. And we are cognizant that some of these dealers may be doing more online sales where you're not necessarily like having people come to the lot anymore, and actually quote unquote kicking the tires. They're actually looking at the car or the vehicle they're looking to buy online and then coming in. And so now they have these lots that they're just maximizing every available inch of space within those.
That would probably lean towards the mayor's point of limiting the square foot.
I don't have any problems. I think there are at least 5 lots I could drive you to today that could be cited by the fire department for the inability to fight a fire, but yet we don't do anything about it. I mean, we have lots of ordinances today that can solve 50% of the problems that we're experiencing. And again, I'm not knocking your work. I don't agree with a lot of it because I think it's overkill, but I want enforcement of the rules that we have today that we don't enforce.
Wade, so are you implying, and sorry.
No, go ahead.
I just think it gets to your question, because I actually had the exact same question. I didn't follow your first one either. Wade, are you saying then under F, I think you said it was, is that you have to have lines painted in the parking lot directing people where to go or where the cars will be placed, or what are you saying?
So the idea behind the parking lot design standards is that you would have 160 square feet per car, and be able to show that on a site plan, essentially.
So they're not packed in there like.
So they're not packed.
Oh, you'd have to show it on a site plan. You don't have to have it painted like parking lot lines.
It would make sense to have it painted, but we need
But sometimes the dealer puts the car this way and sometimes they put it this way.
Change the
So they'll be
dynamic.
out of compliance when they do that.
And
I mean, that's why if you need 150 square foot per car, you know what the lot size is, limit the number of cars to that lot size.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
how the dealer stacks his cars, as long as a fire truck can get through, doesn't make one bit of difference to me.
It's kind of up to them then, and you don't have to deal with the ongoing paint process.
Yeah, that's not.
That
Yeah,
was my
it's
point as
it's
well,
expensive.
is that if we have to, if they have to be lined, then we are.
Then you can never change
limited
the
to-
layout. Right,
Correct.
right,
We're
make it
limited
look
to
different.
one way to park our vehicles.
Your design standards, though, are under a different section. And
Yeah,
that's not being proposed to be amended, correct?
No.
It stays the same. So we've always had that for design.
So
parking lot
any
design
new
standards.
business that would come into Sioux City and go through the design review process, we do look at the parking lot placement and how everything's arranged. I don't think they always paint the lines in some of these locations, but we basically just need clarification that there's the ability to park cars in an orderly fashion within that lot.
I want to thank you for clarifying your point on that for me, because I'm not sure if it's compatible or not to have that kind of a design standard.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? The hearing is closed.
I'm going to propose that we defer this item for 2 weeks so we can just gather more input from the public, continue to have this dialogue, bring it to whether it's Public Works or just further discussion with some of the zoning individuals to hear some of their concerns that were filed, so that maybe we can bring to light some of the changes that were recommended or at least talked about here today. So especially from council, if council wants to be a part of those conversations or could at least submit or propose some of their suggestions, that way we all can be as much on board as possible. I would appreciate that. But Wade, what do you think about 2 weeks? Is that okay?
Yeah, we can, I think, do you guys meet on Friday or when?
I don't think we have one on Friday, but I'm thinking obviously we could have one just dedicated for this.
And we're open to phone calls. Give us a call if you got ideas.
Okay, we might have you sit in.
Second that.
Shaner.
Aye.
Scott.
Aye.
Waters.
Aye.
Moore.
Aye.
O'Kane.
Aye. Thank you all for coming very much.
21 is a hearing and ordinance rezoning 1900 to 1904 Riverside Boulevard. The petitioner's Lacey Warnicki. P and Z recommend approval. I'll move it.
Second.
Public hearing's now open. Anyone to be heard? Seeing none, the hearing is closed. Passes 5-0. Anybody opposed to waiving the statutory rule? I'll move it.
Second.
Scott.
Aye.
Waters.
Aye.
Moore.
Aye.
O'Kane.
Aye.
Shaner.
Aye.
Second and third.
Second.
Scott.
Aye.
Waters.
Aye.
Moore.
Aye.
O'Kane.
Aye.
Shaner.
Aye.
22 is a hearing and resolution approving the proposal to sell the abandoned and vacated Chicago, Milwaukee, and St. Paul Railroad right-of-way and depot grounds adjacent to 1825 South Oleander Street and authorizing a deed to petitioners Richard and Jenny Hodges. I'll move that.
Second.
Public hearing is now open. Anyone to be heard? Seeing none, the hearing is closed. Passes 5-0. 23 is a hearing and resolution accepting the proposal of Midwest Hotels for land in the Donner Park Urban Renewal Area and direct the city manager to negotiate a development agreement. The property at 6,000 block of Al Haynes Drive. The staff has requested a deferral till 6/3 of 24. I'll move that.
Second.
Waters.
No.
Renee Billings, Economic Development Manager. Mayor and Council, we have Patrick Murphy here, who is a representative from Midwest Hotels, and I'd like to invite him up to say a few words if you would like. But also, we are deferring, we are working on a development agreement, but we do need to vacate the streets within the property. So we're working on that, and we'll bring that back along, development agreement when the time is right, so.
How long is it going to take to vacate the streets?
I think the date will come back as June 3rd.
To us?
Yes, Council.
Go ahead. Name and address, please.
Pat Murphy, Lauderdale by the Sea, Florida, 6 months, Medellin, Colombia.
Go ahead.
Council persons and staff, thank you very much for the invitation to talk about this exciting project at the airport. I think I probably should tell you, by the way, it's nice to see a couple of you I haven't seen for 40 years, and I apologize for dating us, but but that's the reality. We're here. So for those of you that don't know me, I've done these presentations in Texas and Florida and Wisconsin and Puerto Rico, and it's kind of heartwarming to be back home. So let me give you a little background on myself. Not only did I go to school here, grade school, junior high, high school, and college, I also taught school here in junior high and also taught at Sioux City North High. So my background is pretty deep-seated and deep-rooted in Sioux City. So it's really exciting for me, probably more so because I feel like I'm home. So I welcome any questions or concerns that you may have regarding our project. Happy to answer any questions. Some things I'm under non-disclosure, but I'm happy to answer as many questions as you might have regarding what we're trying to do and accomplish for the city of Sioux City and for ourselves at the airport. So.
Questions?
Welcome back.
Thank you very much.
No
It's a
doubt.
pleasure to be back.
Few changes, right?
Yes.
A little bit.
Exciting. I've had the opportunity to do my own demographic feasibility drive around, and I'm pleasantly surprised. I'm wondering about the absorption of all these projects, but I was talking to some people in the back, and they assured me that has not been a problem, which is good.
Good.
It is.
Which is good.
All right, well, we'll get the streets vacated, and you'll get a development agreement done. All right.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Call the roll on the deferral.
Waters.
Aye.
Moore.
Aye.
O'Kane.
Aye.
Shaner.
Aye.
Scott.
Aye.
Thank
24
you,
is
Mr.
hearing a
Blythe.
resolution approving plans and specs for the Lewis and Clark Park Joint Seal Project. I move that.
Second.
Public hearing is now open. Anyone to be heard? Seeing none, the hearing is closed. Passes 5-0. 25 is a hearing and resolution approving plans and specs for the Elk Creek Road construction project. I'll move that.
Second.
Still got that roundabout in there, Gordon?
He said, yep.
Public hearing's now closed. Passes 4-1. I vote no. 26, a hearing and resolution approving plans and specs for the Pierce Street Water Main Replacement Project. I'll move that.
Second.
Public hearing's now open. Anyone to be heard? Seeing none, the hearing is closed. Passes 5-0. 27 is a hearing and resolution approving construction documents for the Left Hills Scenic Trail Project. I'll move that.
Second.
Public hearing is now open. Anyone to be heard? Seeing none, the hearing is closed. Passes 5-0. 28 is a hearing and resolution accepting the proposal of Mid-America Energy for an electric easement in the combined Central Sioux City CBD urban renewal area property at 529 Pierce Street. I'll move that.
Second.
Public hearings now open. Anyone to be heard? Seeing none, the hearing is closed. Passes 5-0. 29 is a hearing and resolution instituting proceedings to take additional action on the issuance of general obligation, urban renewal bonds, and capital notes. I'll move that.
Second.
Public hearings now open. Anyone to be heard? Seeing none, the hearing is closed. Passes 5-0. 30 is a resolution directing the advertisement for sale of general obligation bonds and approving the electronic bidding procedures and official statement. I'll move that.
Second.
Passes 5-0. 31 is a resolution directing the advertisement for sale of taxable general obligation bonds and approving electronic bidding procedures and official statement. I'll move that.
Second.
Passes 5-0. 32 is a resolution approving the First Amendment to the contract for animal control services with Hannah Inc. to increase the monthly contract price for the renewal terms. I'll move that.
Second.
I have one question. It's about a little over 9 and change increase, which is over a 15% increase. And the intent is to give the employees a $5 an hour raise, which, as near as I can compute, is about $5,800 a month. So if the intent is just to give the employees a raise, where's the other?
Not speaking for them, but if you take the 5 employees times $5 an hour by 2,080 hours a year, I believe you get pretty close to that figure.
Well, it's 200 a week, right? That's $1,000. And so that's a little over 4,600 average, and payroll taxes, I'm not very far off. I'm probably generous with the 5,800.
If I could just clarify, Chris Wall, Animal Adoption and Rescue Centre, it's not staff. There's 16 people on the payroll, and they are all in need of extra money.
Well, the memo was not even close, and you don't have enough to give them all $5 an hour, so something's.
That number was obtained through consultation with our accountant, and he said that was where we needed to be. It wasn't just a number that we plucked out of thin air. $5
Did the memo not say 5 employees? Did I miss?
The memo refers to 5 employees who are looking at other options.
There's 5 employees that we're going to be losing if they don't get.
I was going to say, I thought it was 5 that said if they don't, they are going to have to leave.
Those are 5 key employees.
So you've got 16 full-time employees.
Yeah.
Well.
So it's pretty much $10,000 per year per employee. Or 10,400.
That's 3,200 a week, right? 16 times 40.
166. I don't have my calculator.
16 times 40, 640 times 5 is 3,200. I'm not.
Got to go back to 16 employees.
16 employees, not 5.
16 employees times 40 hours a week times 5 is $3,200 a week without payroll costs. So if that's the case, they don't even have enough money to do that. I'm not making the numbers up.
No, and I guess that's fine. I mean, I'm trusting the contractor to say they worked it out with their accountant to be able to.
We've sat down and worked it out.
To be able to go through of what they feel will make their employees whole and retain for the coming year, but.
But it's a stage at the moment where it's become a HR nightmare. We are losing people for silly reasons. There was one person left recently to go and work in a gas station because he's making more money. Somebody else has gone to work in a.
Just want to make sure the employees are all getting $5 at the end of it.
Yeah.
We're giving this raise.
Yeah.
And you don't have enough to do that, is what I'm saying. Listen, I'm not the smartest guy, but I kind of do that for a living, and do your math. $3,200 without payroll cost times 4 weeks in a month is over $12,000, and you're not asking for $12,000, so something's not making sense, and that doesn't include payroll costs.
Was everybody 40 hours a week, or some of them less?
There's 14 of them.
14 are full-time and 2 are not.
But
Two
yeah.
are missing right now, aren't there? Don't you need to hire 2 more?
Yep. Yeah, and of course that's
None of it.
what we're offering. But basically 40 hours a week, $5 an hour, $200 a week, 10 grand a year, 16 employees, 160. Taxes and all that kind of stuff. Then the employee, like 197.
We can argue the numbers.
Chris, give that to me again.
Right.
What you just said about the 16.
So 16 employees. So $5 an hour each is ballpark of $200 per week each, which is $10,000 a year each, or $10,400 a year, times 16 employees is 160, 364, plus the back end taxes and insurances and that kind of stuff.
Which is where we get the 196 or 197.
197.
Isn't it the increase 16,000 a month?
So it's, the contract totals that, so the budget amendment will include a budget add of 197,000. And it's the 197,000 that he's saying is calculated out towards that, roughly. Yep.
Thank you. How long have you known this?
Well, I believe the memo is dated late March, and I believe we got together in April, and then we got together again a couple of weeks ago.
I think they contacted Spiro one other time.
We spoke to Spiro at the end of March. He said that the agreements had to be in place by 1st of March. I said, well, that's kind of shot itself in the foot then. And he's like, well, at the moment, let's just run with it and see kind of where we get, not wishing to throw anybody under the bus for anything at all. But there were no comments made or packets sent out or anything like that. Out to say, hey, can we do something here?
But in some of the staffing concerns have been at least passed along or noticed earlier on than April or March, right? I mean, has been kind of something where an ongoing conversation was needed or something to be able to address?
Because it was more than the sort of initial. I know if there's pretty much 2.5%, 3% or whatever, it goes through pretty much, providing all being well without any real major concerns. But I just wanted to put out there that, hey, in order to keep the staff that we've got and to facilitate hiring new staff, it's going to be a lot more than the 3% sort of cost of living increase. It's something that we absolutely hate doing, but at the end of the day, we're not able to run the facility without staff. And that's
Yeah, go ahead.
Spiro, did you have something to add?
No, I was just going to say, Spiro Vahulis, purchasing manager, Chris did contact us at the end of March, and we basically came back to him and said, prepare a proposal and let us know what that you're looking at, and that's kind of where it went. So that memo is dated March 29th.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks. Yep, thank you.
Passes 4-1, I vote no. 33 is a resolution approving renewal option number 1 to the contract with Hannah for the animal services contract. Somebody else can move it.
Second.
Passes 4-1. Anything else, anybody else be heard in the audience? Matthew?
I'm coming off a busy weekend. We had the Sioux City School District Art Show, Artworks, down at the Ho-Chunk Center all weekend. Very well attended. And shout out to the Sioux City Art Center who coordinated with the school district to include the artwork show in their art walk on Thursday, which was by far the busiest night, and we had pretty much constant foot traffic, so that was nice to see. It was very well attended. A couple special thank yous and shout outs. Special thank you to the Fire and Rescue who cleared the Les Hills Elementary building this morning. An alarm went off when they were cleaning something. Some dust got in one of the smoke detectors. Very fast response time, so the kids weren't outside the cold for too long, which was nice. So a thank you to them. Another thank you goes out to Captain Bertrand, who did self-defense lessons for junior league members in Sioux City. And that was very well attended as well. My wife came and he said, I can practice on you. So now I'm looking around every corner just waiting. And Saturday is the Free Family Day at the Sioux City Arts Center. So if you've got nothing going on, bring the family out. That should be fun. We've got nice, hopefully some warm weather coming in too. That's everything.
So the only thing I wanted to bring up and bring to light or talk a little bit about was just highlighting we did not meet since Restaurant Week. And I actually forgot to mention it the week that it was leading into that. But I was really pleasantly surprised. I talked to multiple council members kind of throughout that week and talked to other people and let them know that it was amazing to see how absolutely packed the restaurants were for Restaurant Week. I actually went to a couple different ones, managed to go to 3 or I think maybe 3 or 4 by the end of the week, but it was one of those where seemed like they were always busy. In fact, one place was so full and had so many reservations coming in that they said no, they can't accommodate it for tonight, and so I had to go to the next option, and they were all apologetic, but I actually thought it was a really great thing. It was something that I think we should be excited about when our restaurants are full and our businesses are doing well. And so I was really excited, and kudos and shout out to Downtown Partners for putting that on, but also all of the other people and the restaurants, obviously, that were a part of that. I think it's encouraging to see that. Along with that, not only the restaurants, but also knowing that there were some great shows going on at the Orpheum that were driving some of that. And so I know that they were doing well. I know that this last weekend, there was a dance competition that was held at the convention center that I heard went very well, as well as, was it this last weekend or the weekend before, was the pool tournament that was going on down at the expo. And so you want to talk about a lot of energy, a lot of excitement, a lot of people coming and visiting our community and trying different things or spending their dollars here and just growing our local economy. I think we got a lot going on as a community. No matter what you read on social media, if you choose to dwell in the negativity, a lot of times that's where you'll end up. But I think that there are a lot of great things going on. And you don't have to look far. So I'm excited about some of the things we were able to pass and work through today. But obviously we have more work to do, and I'm looking forward to it. That's all I have.
Okay. I have one event that I attended, and then I have a council concern. The event I attended was the award banquet of the ROTC last Friday evening. And I'll tell you, it was outstanding. You look at those students in high school that are junior ROTC, it's just amazing what they do, and with their leadership team that they had. So I really enjoyed the evening, the full evening, but I enjoyed it. On my concern, and I'm just going to pass this out, there was an opinion in the Sioux City Journal on April 20th, 2024, Saturday issue, wastewater treatment plant needs funding attention. I just want to pass this out for those of you that might not have read that opinion, and I'd like to probably charge Julie Shaner and myself to talk to the wastewater treatment plant committee and maybe address some of this. Some of it seems to be, has been answered. Some of it might be needing a further explanation. But I talked to the city manager about this. I just didn't want this to kind of be ignored because it's extremely important to the community. And so I think that, Julie, you and I need to be taking a hard look at this, talking to the committee, and maybe further expand on what this opinion was about. So I'm going to pass that out. I wish every city attorney, Nicole, a happy birthday. Mayor Bob Scott, a happy birthday.
You as well.
Councilmember Alex Waters, a happy birthday. You as well. And thank you. And my birthday. My birthday's tomorrow, by the way. So, anyway, it's great to be serving with all of you. And, yeah, I'll put it right there. It's been great serving with all of you, and that's all I have here. Thank you.
All I had is I went fishing, and I can't wait to go again. I move we adjourn.
Second.
Moore. O'Kane.
Aye.
Shaner.
Aye.
Scott. Waters.
Aye.